What? Where did that guy come from?
Yeah, you have found yet another example of me being garbage at multiplayer games. And this is something we all experience when we play multiplayer games. We have our ups, our downs, we start at the bottom, we try to work our way towards the top. Some of us don't make it above that bottom tier where you're garbage and you just stay garbage forever. However, some of us, the chosen few, not me, I said us, but it's certainly not me, do achieve that level of mastery of their chosen video game. Now, for me personally, I'm just always gonna be the person that in the game chat you're saying, get good, noob. I mean, I've gotten competitive with some multiplayer games, but overall, I'm not that great at them. And that's okay, I don't love them and they don't love me. But if you're like me and you occasionally delve into the realm of multiplayer games, then these are the 8 and potentially 9 stages that you will go through when you are trying to get good at multiplayer games. Now, like I said, it's important to note that not everyone is going to make it through all of these stages. And if you do make it out of one of these stages, it's not necessarily the case that you stay out of that stage. Regression is definitely a thing in multiplayer games. So these are not the 9 levels of progression through multiplayer games, but truly stages that you can live in at any time and move through at any time. What are your guys' multiplayer games of choice and what stage are you at in those games? Let me know down in the comments below. How long did it take you to get from each of the different stages? And while you're leaving that comment, don't forget to hit that like button, the subscribe button, and the notification bell so you get notifications for new videos like this. Now let's get on with the list. Now for stage number 1, it's pretty self-explanatory. That is the learning the ropes stage. You're trash, you're garbage, but here's the thing, is it's okay at this stage of the game, at this point in your multiplayer gaming career, to be garbage at this given game. There are the few that can completely skip this stage and are just naturally phenomenal at all games. I am certainly not one of them. But for most of us, this is the natural stage we start out in. We are learning the ropes. We are trying to learn, to understand the mechanics, understand the controls. Usually this is made a lot easier when you have friends, and importantly, patient friends to help you understand and to help you get caught up to the later stages. If you're playing this game by yourself, then undoubtedly the YouTube algorithm has learned that this game is a new game you're playing and is showing you all sorts of tutorials, also because you've searched for them because you're trying to get better. It's always clear whenever a player is in this stage, but usually we're okay with it because they're really bad, but they're bad in a special way. They're bad in a helpless, knowledgeless sense, as opposed to the people that are bad, but they're like just really bad. Usually you can tell these people apart and you try to give them tips in the in-game chat, or you try to support them instead of just letting them, die and make your team worse. They might also hop into the chat and say, this is my first time ever playing this game, so they give you a heads up. That's more common in this stage of the game. Some of us never leave this stage. Some of us get into learning the ropes and then we find out, wow, this game's really hard, or wow, I'm really bad at this. And it's not for them. And sometimes this is just an ending stage where you don't go through 8 stages, you stop at stage 1. But stage 1 is where you are just trying to learn the ropes while being utter trash at the game. Now, typically while you're in stage 1, it's not a super fun experience. Maybe you have some friends that you're kind of BSing with, but you're not having a great time playing the game. If you're trying to pick up a game like Rainbow Six Siege and all you've played is COD, you're probably running in, getting shot in the first 30 seconds, and then you have to sit there for 4.5 minutes just not playing, which, you're probably not having a great time. If you're playing League of Legends, you're probably just dead like whenever you go to your given lane. And if you're playing Rocket League, maybe you're struggling to just even flip your car over. But stage number 2, you have left that first stage whenever the game finally starts to get fun. You finally learned the controls and you're actually starting to get to a place where you can have a good time. In Rocket League, you can now actually drive your car forward. You're probably still having trouble with ball cam versus forward cam, but you can at least drive in a direction that you're actually meaning to. You can sometimes even hit the ball and maybe make a goal. In Rainbow Six Siege, you've probably finally learned the layout of the maps. You know what your gadgets do. You know how to shoot people. You know how to break through windows. I could go on, but this is where you've started to learn the ropes and you can finally, maybe not in a huge way, but finally actually contribute against people of your skill level. Again, this is a place that some people just hang out. If you're just playing games socially and you're not an overly competitive person, I'm this way with some shooters, then this may be a place where you stay at, as long as your friends that you're playing with are okay with you, not being good, but at least being there, having enough knowledge to at least do something in the game and to be able to contribute, then this is all you need. But we know that there are a lot of us that need to go past this, so let's move on to stage number 3. Now, stage number 3 can be taken in a couple of different ways, but stage number 3 is when you start to become annoyingly good at the game. Now, there are two ways that you can take this. Number one is where, you have that inner drive. You're really pushing yourself to be good at this game, and you maybe, you have the game knowledge. You know some of the strats that people do. You've seen some good players that you've played against. You've seen how to do aerials in Rocket League. You've seen how to do some wall shots in Rainbow Six Siege. In Warzone, you've learned some of the cool places to hang out and some of the strategies on how to survive until the final circle. But your actual video gaming ability just hasn't quite caught up with your knowledge yet. So you are really just kind of annoyed with yourself at your inability to be competitive in the game. Now there's that side, but we also know the other side, which is you're kind of good, but you're just mostly annoying to everyone else in the game. We're talking about the people in Rocket League that assertively say, I've got it, I've got the ball, and then completely whiff on it, but every single time. Or you've got that teammate in League of Legends that is really sure that they know what they're doing, but they super don't, and they try to go 1v1 or 1v2 people, and then they just start feeding over and over, and it starts to really annoy your entire team. You get into a game of Rainbow Six Siege, and you have a guy that thinks he's really, really good at spawn peeking, but then he just ends up dying in the first 5 seconds of every single round, and you're just 4v5ing everything. Yeah, you can annoy yourself, but also at this stage, you can be very annoying to other people if your perceived level of skill at the game is ahead of what your actual level of skill at the game is. If you're the first type, you'll get out of this pretty quickly because your internal motivation is really pushing you to get better. If you're the second time of person in this game, you're probably either going to quit, you're going to get kicked a lot, or your teammates are going to push you to get better because otherwise they're just probably not going to play with you anymore. So let's fast forward. You've been annoyingly good to some extent, and now you've started to finally get good. And you've moved on to stage 4 where you're ready to move on to the competitive scene of the game. Most multiplayer games have some sort of competitive scene, whether it's Rocket League and ranked or doing tournaments. Most games just have a ranked game mode that you can play. But you finally decided that you're adventurous enough, you're decent enough to give it a try to go and play ranked. Now this is where it's going to be a really rude awakening for your skill level. You're probably gonna get ranked into somewhere like bronze or silver, but that's okay because then you start to realistically learn what your skill level is in terms of the player base of the game. You're going to learn a lot of new strats there, and this really is kind of a fun place to be. At this point, you're kind of like that casually competitive kind of person, where you're decent at the game, you're kind of playing competitively, you know some aerials in Rocket League, you know some strats, you're getting those spawn peaks, you're getting those flip kills in Rainbow Six, you're actually starting to do good, and you're starting to enter that competitive scene and actually be competitive. And while you're in the competitive scene and you start to get better, you're going to hit stage 5, which is where every other person playing the game is cheating. Or at least that's what you're going to tell yourself when everyone is shooting you in the head and it's no physically possible way they could be better than you. Yes, we all know it. And if you don't think you've been there, you have. Don't lie to yourself. We've all been that person in the shooter where we're like, how could they shoot me? I was around the corner. This guy has to have wall hacks. There's no way he could have known that I was coming. That guy definitely has an aimbot. There's no way that you can aim that fast and shoot on the head that accurately. You've said it. We all know it. We've all been there. It's like we are just so sure of our competitive skill because maybe we've hit that platinum rank and we're actually at that place where we really feel like we're good at the game. And potentially you might be hitting towards your ceiling of where you're going to be good at the game, and you know that. And you don't want to acknowledge that there are people whose ceilings are just unfortunately higher than yours. I'm gonna give you the hint though. Maybe a couple of those people are cheating, but for the most part, they're just better than you, fam. I'm sorry, it's time to accept it and move on, and hopefully you skip out on this next stage, which is where you just start to suck. You're starting to get desperate. Your strategies aren't working. You're getting killed by the people in your rank, and you're starting to try desperately new things to try to get better, and none of them are working. You start to forget the fundamentals. You're trying to do these wall-to-air dribbles. You're trying to do these super cool flanking tactics in Overwatch, and you're just actively worse than potentially you've been in the last 2 or 3 stages of playing multiplayer games. You are just constantly spiraling out of control because you had hit your ceiling, which could be raised, and it's just now you're in a plummet. You're in a downward spiral. This can last in just one night. It can last for several nights. It can last for weeks. You have hit your cold streak. This is the belly of the whale. This is probably the lowest point you will get in this multiplayer game. Now, some people may give up. This may be where it ends. For some people in this game, this may be where it just stops and they don't play the game anymore. But people who are truly dedicated to their chosen game, which is stage number 7, which is just acceptance. You accept that people weren't cheating. You accept that you don't know everything at the game, and that when you were at that competitive scene and you were good, that there was still room for improvement. Once you begin to accept that you are not God's gift to Rocket League, and you're not blaming everyone else for every loss. You're not assuming that everyone is cheating whenever you lose. That is when you're finally going to start getting better, and you will graduate to stage number 8, which is where you are going to hit the training circuit. Now, what does the training circuit looks like? It is not fun. The training circuit is where you have abandoned an enjoyment of the game and you are wanting to get better no matter the cost. This is whenever you are playing in Rocket League and training for hours, just driving back and forth in the air, carrying the ball down the track. You're not having fun with the game. You're doing rings in Rocket League, just trying to control your aerials. You are focused on getting better. Fun is not even anything you're considering. You're not watching videos on YouTube of Rainbow Six Siege that are super cool highlight reels. You're watching with the intent of getting better. You're not laughing. You're not enjoying any of the funny moments because there are no funny moments in these videos you're watching. You are watching strictly on what you need to do to get better. You're looking at control settings that you need to change. And you are honestly just trying to get as good as physically possible. This, once again, is not a level that everyone will hit. I personally stop at level 7 usually, which is where I understand that I'm not gonna be as good, and I become complacent with where I'm at. And you know what? Sometimes that's just good enough. We don't all have to master our game of choice. I'm a platinum/diamond at Rocket League, and I have fun with it. I have lots of friends that are grand champs, and I accept that they're better than me, and I accept that if I play with them, I'm not gonna have a great time, or I'm just not gonna contribute a lot, but I can still hang with them. But if you're not like me, and you have the drive, maybe you can be that person that hits level 9, which is you achieve mastery in your given game. And I don't mean a self-proclaimed level of mastery. A self-proclaimed level of mastery would be stage 5, which is where just everyone else is cheating. No, people start to consider you as good. And not like people as in your buddies, like people you go against respect the level of skill that you are bringing to the game. You are ranking in the top tier of the ranked division. You may be teaching others, and by teaching, I mean getting paid to teach other people how to play your game. Not very many people make it this far, but if you've made it to where you are one of the chosen few in your given game, then my hat's off to you. You are a better player than I am, and you should be applauded. But if you don't make it to this, fear not. This is not a shortcoming by any means. Not everyone should be in the 1%. We need plenty of people that are also garbage at games, because I need friends that I can play with that are also garbage. Because let me tell you, the 1%ers don't want to play games with me. Sometimes to reach that level, you have to make a choice between burning yourself out and no longer enjoying the game, or enjoying the game and just accepting that you're not good. And sometimes to accept that you're not going to be the best of the best is an okay thing to do, and you're just not gonna hit that last stage. That's okay. Don't feel bad about it. If you have people telling you to get good in your game, don't take it personally. Don't get offended by it. Just know where you're at. You're playing the best that you can, and just have a good time. Enjoy the game that you're playing. All right, guys, so that's gonna wrap it up. Those are the 9 stages that we go through whenever we're playing online multiplayer games. Once again, let me know down in the comments, what games do you play and what stage are you in right now in that game? Have you regressed in any of them, or are you only chugging along forward? In which case, if you are, I am very proud of you. You're a better person than I am. Don't forget to hit the like button, the subscribe button, and the notification bell so you get notifications for any new videos and live streams, and we'll see you guys in a later video. Have a good one.